Oh,
Yeah,
hello.
I can see everyone. Can everyone see me?
We can, Mark. I think I'll just remind everybody to send me any questions in the chat before we're going to mute you now. Just send me some questions and I can ask Mark. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, Deb. Thanks for locking in with everyone, as always. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming along. Hope last week was useful, apart from that awful bit at the end, but hopefully we fixed all that now. We are now we're now going to move on. Are we 6 o'clock? I'll just wait a minute more for anybody else who wants to join us. Maybe some more coming in around now. Just to recap, last week, I have to use my glasses here, I can't see a thing. Getting too old for everything. We looked at just basically course aims over the next few weeks and stuff. So this is number 2. We looked at selling online generally, pricing, rethinking of pricing, consistency. I'm going to use that word a lot over the next few weeks because it is the most important thing in selling anything, is to be consistent. We covered websites a little bit. I'm going to do a bit of website today, but the main website one is going to be next week. Becoming self-responsible, this is the issue. So, and this is what these are all about, is hopefully the book, those of you who haven't got it, is trying to enable you to become a bit more empowered by your own selling and things like that. Even if you don't do it yourself directly, you get someone else to do it, you're aware of the processes, so you can keep a good overview of it, because it's so important that you become, powers, the owner of your own destiny. So I wanted a quick look this week at galleries. What the galleries do, right? Well, galleries are there to basically sell the product that you may not want to sell, or as well as yourself. As such, they should be a willing and helpful partner. Hopefully there's no too much egos from a gallery. You never know, some do, some don't. They should be feeding back information for you about the clients and customers, what people are saying about your work, paying you promptly. Can I say that loud and hard enough? I despair at that, but let's not dwell on that one. But yes, and I'll give you some tips on how to organize that later on. Basically being your shop front. And if you are paying somebody a handsome sum, 40 upwards % of your fee to do it, you want to make sure that they are doing it as well as you, if not better, because that should be their job. And if they're not, you have to ask yourself, why am I with them? Galleries are, they pay a lot of money. I pay a lot of money a year to have a high street front, to have people like, brilliant people like Deborah and Hayden, who's back door of this, and Joanna and stuff on my other website, to make sure that the things run smoothly for everything that we cover, everything that we make sure we ensure the work in transit, we make sure the customer's happy, and do all the things that you basically don't want to do. Do you need a gallery? Well, in the book, I have written a list of questions, and you will have probably read those if you've seen the book, but take note. They are: am I good with people, and do I enjoy talking about my art with them? Hopefully. Can I be enthusiastic about my craft and transfer that to a customer? This is really important. Am I prepared to spend at least 40% of my time promoting myself? Now, it doesn't have to be 40%, but the more time you spend promoting yourself, that's the 40% of time you would be giving the money, the equivalent money, whilst you're not painting, to a gallery to do it for you. So am I prepared to spend that time? Do I enjoy, or could I enjoy, working social media platforms and updating websites? This is also really important. So these 3 points are the ones that are the key to this. And do I have technical, logical skills to do that, or am I willing to learn them? There are other things. Am I consistent with my work patterns? Am I prepared to find partners to stage exhibitions with? So my point is, if you answer yes to most of those questions, or at least those three, spending your time working on media platforms and the technological skills, or am I willing to learn them? If you can learn those three, or willing to do those three, then arguably you don't need a gallery in a traditional sense. High street galleries are definitely on their way out. The way we're shopping is very different these days. Online is king. I mean, I've just to recap, last month I did almost as much online, entirely online, as I did in the gallery last year when the gallery was open. So, and that's entirely online. So this is the time that the big change is going on, and this is the time that if you take advantage of this, you could really reap the benefits of it. Start now, start slowly, but build and build and build. So do you need a gallery? Not necessarily if you can afford to spend the time and do that and be consistent and are willing to make the effort. If you do bypass a gallery, there are other ways of doing it. You don't necessarily have to do it all yourself. For example, you might find a young guy who lives around the corner from you who's quite techie, and you say to him, you know what, you run all of my online stuff, you do all of that for me. I'll give you the voice and everything else to do it. We'll come on to this later. And I'll do a deal. Either I'll pay you a fee, or I'll give you a percentage of my work. It may not be 40%, something less, and offset it, and get them to do all the work and get them to be your gallery in effect. So there are lots of different ways around this, but what we are going to look at now is, before I move off from galleries, I wanted to just touch on how to approach them. If you do find that you're going to want to work with them and everything else, the first thing is politeness. This is a relationship you're going to have hopefully years and years and years. Bunging them an email saying, oi, have a look at my work, not giving them any links, not giving them, you wouldn't believe how many emails I get like this. No links, no pictures attached. They want me to do all the work to find their website and to go over and have a look at it and then come back and give them some feedback when they've CC'd me in with about another 5 other galleries. It's not going to cut it. I'm not, I may not have a great ego. I probably have got quite a big ego, but some galleries will or won't have egos, but being polite doesn't cost anything. And I have taken on an artist who I didn't think was suitable for my gallery, simply because their letter was so polite and so nice and a little bit fun and light-hearted. I thought, I'd really like to work with this person. I'm prepared to give it a go. Actually, it turns out it was one of the best decisions I ever made. So politeness goes a long, long way. And even if it doesn't, this is all about an industry where you may bump into the same person 5 years later down the road when you're a bit better off and you're a bit more famous, and they're now looking for somebody like you. And if it started off in a very bad way, it just makes no sense at all. So try and be polite to people. Ask the right questions. There are a bunch of things that you should really ask. And I know artists aren't very good at this. I don't think I've really ever been asked them. And it's becoming more important than ever that these questions are asked. And they are things like, have I got this written down? I think I have. Right, what are your payment terms? A gallery is not going to drop you because you ask them, how often do you pay? Is it once a month, for 2 months ago, last month, or whatever else? Is it once every 90 days? God forbid, but some do. You need to ask the question, polite, how often? And how quickly after a sale do I get my money? What are your reporting schedules? When will you tell me when something's sold? All my artists know when something's sold because I stick it on social media and blurt about it. But not all galleries do. So how are you going to find out if somebody's sold something of yours, and when to plan your finances for the future, when you're going to get that money and when you know you're going to have it? So when do they report back to you? How often do you require a refresh? So I like to have something new every 3-4 months or so. 6 months absolute outside, but there's no point in me having something on the wall and then nothing for an entire year, because the people who come in 2 or 3 times a year are just going to see the same painting. So it doesn't do you good and it doesn't do me good. So how often do you want refreshing? Do you have any framing requirements? I don't, but some might. I have an artist who suddenly did an exhibition once. It wasn't a bad thing, but suddenly, having had white frames all their time with us, appeared at this exhibition with all black frames. It was a real shocker. And we actually ended up having to exchange some of the black frames for white ones in the end. But it was just like out of the blue. It was such a surprise. So communicate with your gallery. And are there any extra costs I should be aware of? This is really important, because I hear a lot of galleries start charging artists. I don't know why, but they start charging artists for exhibitions. And if they do certain other things that they don't think necessarily are part of the normal running relationship. So find out in advance if there are any extra hidden costs, like if they go and do the affordable art fair and you've got to pay up front a bit if you want to be in it, or things like this. Ask the questions. And this is the key. This is the most important thing. When you have asked all the questions and you've got an answer for them, even if they don't send you something in writing, send them something in writing saying, as I understand it from our agreement, you will do this, this, and this, and this. Please let me know if that's wrong. Now you've put the ball in their court to come back to you and tell you, no, you've got it wrong on this point. And if they haven't, at any point in the future, you can go back to that piece of paper and say, well, I sent you that piece of paper at the beginning. This was our agreement and our working relationship as I understood it, and you didn't say anything about that. So legally, you have something at least to go back to, okay? So think business. It's really important, this, because, you know, at times like this, for example, I got an email from an artist recently, one of my artists, who is in another gallery. And he said that this gallery is going to go into receivership, but the paintings he's got in there belong to him. They don't belong to the gallery. And he doesn't have it anywhere on a piece of paper that that is the case. So the receivers who will come in might well say, all these paintings on these walls are all belong to the gallery and they're fair pay to sell to get the money back on the gallery. Now, hopefully a lot of receivers are wise to the fact that they are on sale and return and not owned by the gallery, but be clear about it. When you send a dispatch note out to a gallery, make sure that on the dispatch note, it says ownership of this is entirely things up until the point of sale. Okay, put it on your dispatch notes when you go out. So I hope these are really helpful points. They are so important if you're going to work with a partner of any kind. Get the contract. If you know, I don't like to use the word contracts because they're not worth the paper they're written on, but get the agreement and the basis of what you're going to do together, whether it be a gallery or whether it be a partner you're doing an exhibition with or anything else. So at least you have that to go back to at the end and say, this is what we agreed as I understood it. Okay. Before I think I've covered all the gallery stuff. I'm sure I'll go backwards and forwards over the next few weeks and do some other stuff. I'm trying not to dwell too much. I'm already 15 minutes in. I haven't even touched the 3 other items I wanted to get onto. So maybe I have to move things around a little bit. The website basics, I'm going to get onto that next week, so I won't do a lot on it now, but you need to start from the bottom up. If you're starting this slowly, you need to start with the website, then do the social media, and then start with your voice and your promotion and everything else. So the basic is you've got the paintings. Now you need the platform from which to sell them. Now you won't necessarily need your own website. If you use something like Etsy, if you use something like Art Finder, if you use my own Art Rehome, if you use another platform, as long as you've got, this is the key to everything. Everything must end back to a point where somebody can click on a button and buy it. If you don't, all of the things that you have don't end up going back to that one point, you've wasted a sale, because you give people a chance to think, they will, and they will disengage. If they really, really, really want it, of course they'll go through. But there's also a lot of sales in people who will just click on it in that moment, like going out of a shop. So you must always end up back to that point of sale when you do anything promotion online. So if you've got a website and if you decide to go with that, please don't make the obvious mistake of, so many even galleries do this, of putting biographies on the front page. How many times do you want to read somebody's biography? When you go in, hit them with the newest work you have straight on the front page. Bang, this is what I'm doing. Do. If people fall in love with your work and they see it all there on the front page, they will click through and read about you if they don't already know about you. But there's nothing more annoying on a website than going to the front page and having to wade through the biography, which I have read 100 times or not at all. But actually at this point, I'm not interested. I want to see your art. So put that wherever it is, but don't put it on the front page. Hit them with the best work you've got in the best lighting, the best photograph every time. And as soon as somebody clicks on it and they go straight through, they can buy it then and there. That's the key. Okay. Yeah, if your website's less than 2 years old, or more than 2 years old, you will need to revamp it. I'm sorry about that, but technology moves on. Your website is there to be your promotional tool. And if it is over 2 years old, it's almost certainly not mobile friendly, and 99% of us are going, not 99, but probably 60% of us are using mobiles to look and buy from everything. So if it doesn't look good on a mobile, people will just go away, okay? Make it easy for people. So if it's under 2 years old, or if you don't have a mobile option on your website, you need to update it. It is so important. You can go to one.com, for example, where mine are hosted. For 30 or 40 quid, you will buy a year's worth of domain, any domain you choose, and a whole load of the place to put it, with all the memory and all the emails you'll need and everything for free. It's cheap as chips. And then all you do is you find yourself something like a WordPress template. And if you can get involved, get somebody. But if somebody builds your website for you, please, as I said last week, make sure that they also teach you how to administer it. Otherwise, you're going to spend a fortune going back to them. You're going to be beholden on them. You're going to be waiting for them to do new stuff. You want to be able to do it yourself quickly and easily. And somewhere, as I keep saying, that is the key. That's the point where they're going to click on a PayPal button. So if they like a painting and there's a PayPal button on it, they click on it, they move out, they've gone, they've bought it before they even brain starts to engage about, maybe I should be thinking about the kids' school fees, or maybe I should be buying that dress that I saw a few days ago, or whatever. Don't let the brain engage, this side of the brain, or whichever side it is. Keep them in the side that you want them in. So don't make them think about it. Okay, trying to rush on because I know you've got questions and everything. I don't want this to dribble on all night. Social media. Okay, a real brief one on social media. Again, social media, if you can imagine it, the website is your supermarket with all the shelves, with all the paintings on and everything else that you want to sell. Your social media is your checkouts. Okay, on your checkouts, this is how they go. This is how you promote this stuff and get it through. You know those little things, those sweets they put and the magazines they put right by the checkouts? The reason they do that is they get 10-fold sales on something as it goes through the checkout than they do it's sitting on a shelf somewhere and getting lost. So your social media is your checkout. It's the point where you start to get people excited about something and send them back into the shop to go and get it. Okay, so the first thing about social media platforms, to make it easy for yourself if you haven't got one already, is please try to make all of your social media platforms the same name. It's really important because it's so easy then to cross-post and for people to find you. If your Twitter feed is John Smith Art, and then your Instagram feed is J Smith Artist, and your Facebook feed is JS Art, whatever. it's so complicated to try and link all these things up. There's no synergy there. I know it might be difficult if you have a name like John Smith to find something, but if you can find something that works on all three platforms so people don't have to try and find too much trouble finding them, it's really important that a lot of people tell me, I had one artist tell me, I don't have time to do social media. I don't have time to do the websites and everything else. Here's my point I made to that artist. I said, I bet you do art fairs, which they replied they did. And I said, how long does it take you to get all those paintings packaged up, put them into a back of a car, drive 100, 200 miles to the art fair and stand there for 3 days trying to sell your art, hoping that somebody's come into that building? And then try and tell me you don't have time to go onto social media for 10 minutes every day and be consistent. It is absolutely your goldmine to do this. So I don't buy you don't have the time. I do buy that you probably can't be bothered, or you don't really want to, or it's a pain. I buy all that. I get it. It is. I spent a year working on a new website every single day by myself, posting and posting and posting. But within 3 months, I was selling on it, a brand new platform that had never been existed before. Even surprised me how quickly it was done. And that's because of consistency. So my point is, you have to rethink this whole thing. You need to spend a small amount of time often to get the results you want. And it will seem soul destroying because you'll go through it and you'll think, oh, nobody's buying anything, nobody's doing anything. I'm getting new likes, I'm getting new shares and all this sort of stuff. Stay with it. Keep doing it consistently. I post every day on all my platforms at 8 a.m. It's the time I choose to do it. So be consistent with it and try and make sure that you don't get lost in the it's not working. It does work. It works in the long term. Right, and the last thing I want to say about social media, because we really are getting quite long now, I'm going to leave my voice next week. I wanted to touch on your voice on social media and on everything else, but I'm going to put that on to next week with the websites, because I know you've got a lot of questions going on here. The last thing I want to say is make sure everything links up. Don't post to social media just to show a picture of something. It's a complete wasted post. Always, if you get a new picture finished, photograph it, put it on the website, put a PayPal button on it, then post it to social media. Because if somebody's passing through there and they see that and go, oh, I like that painting, and then they've got to email you, and then you've got to get back to them, and then they've got to be told that they can put it in a bank account here, and then they've got to do that, and then you deliver. It's so long-winded. You've lost them. Please, every time you post, always post a link to where you can buy it, because that is how it's done professionally. Nothing is wasted. Every single post you make has a reason to sell that post at the end of the day. Yes, you can do odd videos. I mean, I do videos of me walking around Port Scatho and the seascapes and me commuting to work. They're promotional type videos. But if you're selling a painting or you're showing a painting, always put the link back to where you can buy it. Okay. I think I'm going to stop there now, because otherwise this is going to go on forever. Have we got some questions, Deb?
We have, Mark. If we can start with Paula's, because although, and then we'll move on to the on-topic ones, but Paula's got a question for you, which may not be to do with what you're talking about so much tonight, but last week, so it'd be quite good to answer that question. When selling online, is it worth framing pieces, or do people prefer to buy unframed pieces?
There is no preference to that. Some artists only do unframed work. Hester Berry, I've just got a new batch of work done by him. Her come on boards that are painted around the edges. Some Jill Hudson's, for example, come on just frame canvases. Other artists put frames on and painting. There are no rules. And some artists do sometimes frames and sometimes without frames, and sometimes they do different types of frames. It can be a bit complicated when things like that happen, especially for a gallery, because consistency can be a bit in and out. But there are no rules to this. It's not like you never sell them without frames. It's easier to ship them without frames, without question. But I would suggest always give them the option. Would you like it without frame? Would you so and so? Or would you like it with frame? Here's a picture of it framed. So entirely up to you.
Right, thank you, Mark. Got a question from Denise here, and this is going back to the contacting initially the gallery. So Denise's question is: do you ask these questions up front, or after the initial contact? For example, once you have sent in links, and then the galleries come back to you. Do you need me to read that to you again, Mark?
No, I've got it all. No, never start with the business stuff first and all that. No, this is an introduction. You're going in for a job interview. Well, sometimes feels like that. It shouldn't be. But just the thing is politely to say, first of all, make sure you get the person's name you're writing to. My email address is mark@the Gallery. And people still write hi. It's just do the homework, do the extra little bit. You've got one chance at this. Don't throw it away just being flippant, and certainly don't CC in 100 other galleries saying I'm looking for someone to represent me, because nobody will get back to you. Be personal. Hi, Mark. Been on your website. Think your work, flattery doesn't matter if you like. Think you do a great job. Blah 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 blah. I'm really looking for representation in Cornwall, wherever. I thought my work might be a good fit for your gallery. I'd really appreciate your looking through my work. Here's a link to where you can see most of it. I've attached also a couple of small pictures, not huge and not big. And if you like, your biography. I look forward to hearing from you when you have time. And then leave it. Now, I get back to you usually within 24 hours, but some galleries take a month. They do it one day a month that they look through the stuff. So don't be tempted to write to them 2 or 3 days later and say, have you looked at my stuff? Give them time, give them a month to look at it, and then say maybe a polite email saying, just wondered if you got my last email, appreciated if I could know that, it's in process or whatever. The only time you're talking about money and agreements and all that is once they've said, yeah, I'd really like to work with you. I think it could work. At that point, when you're in that deep, that's the point, and no later than this. But don't start sending them work and then ask them. That's too late. You ask them at the point you make the agreement to say, we're going to work together. And at that point, you ask them all those questions.
Lovely. Thank you, Mark. Denise has got to run now, so that was really good. We managed to answer that one for Denise. I've got a question here from Louise. Mark, can you suggest any good examples of social media to review?
Yeah, definitely. Rue Schering, ROOS, and then I'm not sure how she spells it. She's a Belgian painter. God, I'd love to work with her. She's so good. But she doesn't need me. She just doesn't need me. She does a brilliant, brilliant job. A lot of my artists are really good. Jenny Aikens, this absolute star. When I first started working with Jenny, I don't know when it was, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, she was just sort of getting herself together. She's now selling and selling and selling online. She can't keep up with it. She even asked me the other day, how can I get help with the selling side of things? Because it's just overwhelming me. So that's where you want to be. And that comes from hard work, So Jenny Aitken's great. Rue Schering's great. Hayley Jo Summers is great. There's a girl in America that I worked with for a while called Kim Vanderhook, who's brilliant. She even does these little videos where she squirts 3 lumps of paint, different colors, and just blends them in. You just watch it. I'm mesmerized by this. It's just nice, you know, playing with the tools you have. Can't think of anyone else offhand, but there's some really great accounts that people are using and effectively.
Mark, I've got a question here. Let's have a look from, is it Lynn or is it Lynn and Diggerland? Sorry, Lynn, if I got that wrong. How to drive traffic to social media? That's a good question.
Right, yeah, this is, you mean get more likes, I assume, get more likes, get more followers and stuff like that. That comes, well, first of all, what I keep saying, and I will keep saying in this, consistency. Post every day, specific time if you like, twice a day if you can. 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. Make sure that your stuff is interesting. I'll go on to Your Voice next week, you know, and talk about, you know, how you can sort of develop your own style in what you do. Yes, at some point you may want to invest in some sort of promotional tools. Facebook, Instagram, which are the same thing now, Twitter, they all have promotional tools in there and you'll pay for them. But, you know, the thing is, to attract more audience, sometimes you can build it, you can do it slow, or you can pay, and you'll pay for a short while and do a burst of something. But I wouldn't, boosting a post I would avoid. That's not very good, well spent money. I would do a marketing campaign and I would build a video or something and I would put it out there, or a selection of pictures, and I would do a promotional push on Instagram and everything else to find followers. But the main part about this is consistency. It's the key to everything. So just having patience and working hard.
Thank you, Mark. Would anybody else like to put some questions in chat for Mark? Give you a chance to type.
So while we're waiting for some questions, I'll just go through next week's. I was going to do just websites next week. I will do websites, of course, in a bit more depth to talk about where you can get good platforms and where you can, how cheaply you can build them, and you know how to work together with someone else, for example, and I'll also now do the bit that I was going to do in this time, which is Your Voice, talking about how to be, you know, get your own style of talking to the public. It's really important, this Your Voice. So hopefully we can help you build that and hone it so that your personality comes out most.
Well, I haven't had any new questions in, Mark. I think that's probably because you were so eloquent. You probably answered most of the questions in before they had a chance to even ask you.
Okay, folks. Well, we managed to get in time, 3 minutes later than I'd want to be, but that's fine. Half an hour. Hope it's been helpful. See you back here next week. Tell your friends if it's helpful for them. And we'll do websites and Your Voice next week. And then the week after will be social media and apps, how to use it. So if your questions were about social media, the week after next will be a good one for you. How to boost, how to make the most of all the platforms that you've got. And the last one will be pricing, framing, packaging, insurance, and partners. So these are all really important. So the back end stuff of how to make it cheaper for yourself to do all of these things and to work with partners to get exhibitions and things like that. So I hope that's all helped. Is there any other questions quickly, Debs, before I close off?
Oh, just saying a lot of thank yous, but thank you guys for coming along tonight as well. there is something. It's not so much as a question, a little bit of an aside from Paula, which I'll show you later. And yeah, thank you guys for coming along, and some thank yous for you to you, Mark, for your advice.
Yeah, hope it all goes well. Keep me in touch with everything, and tell all your friends about it. Come along next week. We're all in this together. We have to make sure this industry starts to really take off online. So, you know, we can all do this, and we can all be mentors for other people in the future. So work hard and keep creative, folks, and we'll see you next week.